Did the most intelligent man in history pass away in shame? Known for his fabled wealth, power, and wisdom, King Solomon ended his life in a manner that contradicts all of our preconceived notions about him. What transpired during his final days in power? Stay tuned as we reveal the terrible demise of the man who constructed the Temple of God. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My Bible story again. You're at the right place if you find history, mythology, and the ascent and decline of great monarchs to be fascinating. The untimely and terrible end of King Solomon's life will be discussed in today's video. He is well known for his extraordinary insight. But did you know that his latter days were characterized by heartache and mistakes? Now, be sure to stay until the very end, before we delve further into this exploration of the life of one of the greatest monarchs in history. I promise you won't want to miss the unexpected development that ultimately brought Solomon to ruin. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and enable notifications if you're new here, so you don't miss any more historical tales like this one. David's son and heir to the throne. King Solomon is renowned for having ruled Israel during its heyday. It was claimed that God himself bestowed wisdom onto him. We are all familiar with the well-known judgment story in which he prudently divided a baby in half to identify the true mother. He accumulated unfathomable wealth, constructed the majestic temple in Jerusalem, and even penned some of the Bible's most enlightening volumes, such as Ecclesiastes and Proverbs. Solomon made some difficult decisions in his later years, nevertheless, in spite of all of his achievements. Once his greatest asset, his knowledge was unable to stop him from making choices that would ultimately bring him to ruin. Something started to shift as Solomon grew older. His extravagant lifestyle, the size of the empire he controlled, and the hundreds of foreign brides and concubines he had taken distracted him more and more. He drifted more away from the God who had initially given him insight as a result of these marriages, which were intended to forge political alliances. In actuality, he was first exposed to idolatry by his foreign brides. Even Solomon, who constructed a temple to worship the only real God, permitted the construction of altars for foreign deities like Ashtoreth and Molech in the center of Jerusalem. The people of Israel, who had earlier prospered under the guidance of the wisest king, started to suffer as a result of his loss of direction. But things were going to get worse. The Bible says that God got mad at Solomon near the end of his rule because he turned away from him. So God told King Solomon that the country would be split up after he died. Israel would no longer be united under one king. Instead, the country would be torn apart, and a long history of strife would follow. Solomon's heart, once so loyal to God, had grown cold and distracted. His wisdom couldn't save him from the consequences of his own choices. In the end, Solomon died knowing that his kingdom would not survive in the way he had hoped. His son, Rehoboam, would take the throne, but the dream of a united Israel would fall just a few years later. The sad irony? The man who asked for wisdom above all things finished his life with a broken kingdom, and a heart far removed from the very God who had given him that wisdom. What lessons, then, can we draw from King Solomon's final days? It serves as a sobering reminder that even the most intelligent people can succumb to the temptations of wealth, power, and selfish wants. Solomon's story serves as a potent reminder of the value of upholding our morals regardless of our level of prosperity. The kingdom prospered as Solomon's rule went on, but underneath the surface, fissures started to appear. The exact insight that had made him famous now appeared to waver. Once a lighthouse of justice, Solomon became enmeshed in the very comforts he had brought about. His once God-centered heart started to wander. Solomon became an idolater as a result of his numerous marriages to foreign princesses, which were supposed to help him build alliances. His people's unhappiness increased as temples to alien deities appeared all over the country. Solomon was wise, yet he had trouble seeing the effects of his deeds. There were murmurs of revolt from the very people who had formerly admired him. Their hearts ached at the weight of high taxes and forced labor for his ambitious schemes. Pride and the luxuries of his court blinded Solomon, who disregarded the warnings of his advisors. Now, the kingdom that had thrived under his leadership was on the verge of anarchy. Solomon started to consider his options while he was by himself. He is credited with writing the book of Ecclesiastes, which depicts a man struggling with life's purpose and the pointlessness of earthly endeavors. He wrote, "Vanity of vanities, everything is vanity." Solomon was troubled by the knowledge that his quest for riches and power had cost him dearly as he took in the splendor of creation. The knowledge that had once led him now seemed like a faraway recollection, clouded by sadness and regret. He reflected on the transient nature of life and the meaninglessness of financial wealth in his writings. He asked himself, considering the legacy he would leave behind, "What does a man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun?" A striking reminder of his conflicted heart, the temple was a stunning tribute to his dedication. The fundamental basis of his rule started to fall apart as he permitted the worship of alien deities to permeate his realm. The Israelites became more dissatisfied, and rumors of insurrection spread through the streets. With groups emerging opposing Solomon's authority, the previously cohesive kingdom was now divided. Rehoboam, his own son, would shortly inherit a kingdom on the verge of disintegration. Solomon made an effort to patch up the divisions he had caused in his last days. In an attempt to bring peace and harmony back to Israel, he called on its leaders. However, the harm had already been done, and the populace no longer trusted their monarch. "My people," he begged, "I have made mistakes in my ways. I have taken the lead." What lessons, then, can we draw from King Solomon's final days? It serves as a sobering reminder that even the most intelligent people can succumb to the temptations of wealth, power, and selfish wants. Solomon's tale serves as a potent reminder of the value of upholding our morals regardless of our level of achievement.